Namaste everyone. Welcome to JDC Tech Coffee Talk. Since we shifted to Bhusri, this is our fifth or sixth coffee talk, and we can see the difference that a lot of people are attending in good numbers. So thank you everyone for attending this coffee talk. Coffee talk is really a nice activity that GDC Tech has. It's been a regular activity. Today is 94th coffee talk. We are looking forward to our 100th big event. Coffee Talk gives us an opportunity to listen to knowledgeable person in our industry, get to know new topics, and meet in person. Because it's hard to get in touch with people face to face these days. So Coffee Talk is kind of an avenue where we can come together, have coffee, snacks, meet each other, and have a discussion about new topic. In today's coffee talk, we'll start with Anilji Kulkarni, our president and chairman of Puja Casting. He'll give us a brief about GDC Tech and its activities. Afterwards, Bhagyesh will give us an introduction to our esteemed speaker. Then we'll have a speech, and then we'll have vote of thanks. Anilji.
Thank you, Advait. I suppose introduction of GDC Tech is not much required because all of you know about it. I will skip that portion. But then I definitely would like to take this opportunity for thanking Advait, his team, his Gen Z team, those who are deeply involved into the organizing these coffee talks. And of course, they are all being trained and guided by our Jitendra ji. So I hope this continues like this only over a period of time. Only one thing I would like to share with you today is that today is the event that GDC Tech is now officially shifted to Pimpri-Chinchwad. GDC, yeah. All these years, all of you or many of you might have come to Prabhat Road. And going to Prabhat Road and coming back, going 1.5 hour, coming 1.5 hour, and then meeting with the problems of parking and all these things was making little difficult for all of us to attend in big numbers. So the moment we started the coffee talk here, we have seen that many new people are attending, and the people who really need that. And this particular activity, what we have decided that we have dedicated it to our Gen Z members, the members who are just coming up, and it is for them that they should know what they should learn. So conceptualizing the coffee talk, implementing, organizing it, and then seeing to it that it is implemented, and through social media reaching to the many more number of people so that they also get benefited along with them. That is what is the concept. So I am quite sure that as he mentioned, 94th is running, 100 is not too far. Maybe this year itself we will be doing that, and I am sure slowly this wall will have to be removed. So this is a partition which we have to only tell them to remove. Now the question is only that is what will happen over a period of time. So I am, without wasting much of time, I request Advait to go forward. Please, thank you.
Good evening everyone. Firstly, thank you Anilji, and on behalf of GDC Tech and the entire Gen Z team, I surely can promise you that yes, we are increasing our involvement, and even we hope that in a couple of more corporate talks, a lot more of people will get involved and the participation will also increase. So we've already heard about GDC Tech's vision and activities from the president, and now let us move to the slightly serious but equally exciting part of the evening, because today's topic is about budgets. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker, Sri Anandji Karwa. Anandji is a seasoned finance leader with nearly 30 years of operational and leadership experience globally. Born and brought up in Pune, he's a true Punekar by heart and currently lives here with his parents, spouse and his two children. An alumnus of Loyola High School, a BCom graduate from Sir Parshuram Rao College, he not only cleared his CWA alongside his graduation but ranked third nationally in his CWA intermediate. He definitely has been a meritorious student and not a backbencher like me, and he even topped Germans in his HSC board exams. Professionally, he has worked with esteemed organizations like Tata Group, Infosys, Cummins, India as well as USA, Arvind Mills and Opus. Today, he is the founder director of AM Square Partners Private Limited, helping startups, enterprises and businesses with their finance operations, budgeting, M&A, restructuring, turnaround strategies, and CFO advisory. Basically, it involves money, structure, strategy. He has seen it, fixed it, and scaled it. Beyond finance, he is a Six Sigma trained professional, an ISO and IT certified internal auditor, and a Tata Business Excellence Model Assessor. He is also very socially active and has served as the past president of Mahesh Industrial Group, the chairman of LVPM, and is associated with many other initiatives including Dronalaya, Swavlambhan, Mahesh Professional Forum, Maheshwari Mitra Pavilivar, and Lend a Hand India. On a lighter note, he loves cricket, enjoys good food, and he also cooks for his family, plays chess. And playing chess is perhaps what explains his calm and strategic approach to finance, both on and off the board. With a round of applause, let us thank Anandji for his presence here today. And I now request our president to please come forward to felicitate our speaker Anandji Karwa. Thank you, Anilji. So as today's theme rightly says, if budgets made money, everyone would be profitable. Most of us here have made budgets, revised them, ignored them and later blamed them. But today we finally have someone who would tell us exactly how budgeting should work. With this, I now hand over the dais to Anandji. Thank you.
Very good evening. That was very sure that it is the same introduction that I sent you because I found it was longer and had too many more things. All right. Okay. First of all, thank you very much for this opportunity, Jitu bhai, particularly to you, and of course the entire forum for this opportunity to talk to you all and interact with you all. While he did put me across as an expert, let me just tell you that I've also been learning like you guys have been. You guys are the expert of your field. All that I can do is tell you. See, sometimes the job of a finance person is very easy. We have to only show you what the mistake is. We don't have to always fix it for you. So it's that way, simpler as a job. But today I'm not here as somebody who is trying to find fault. We are here today to try and discuss and understand what are the challenges with budgeting that typically you face, and then can we find the right solutions or the right way to do that. Yeah, that's probably the intent. Give me a moment and I'm going to sort of switch over to my presentation on that. I generally like to start to talk about something from the context of what we are looking to learn. Learning is an ongoing activity. I'm sure all of us understand that, and nobody more than a manufacturing industry person can appreciate that. And this is something that Peter Drucker said. that there is nothing so useless, and please mind his words, it's wonderfully written, nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which should not be done at all. Brilliant statement, isn't it? So hats off to Peter Drucker for that, and I'm sure I don't need more explanation. And since I'm a finance person, I wanted to add one more element to this statement, which is again by another very renowned investor, Mr. John Bogle. John Bogle, while that name sounds more like a Marathi name as Bogle, that's Bogla, and he's not a Marathi person. Although we Punekars we love to take pride in everything that is closer to our heart, so we might as well take it that way. So learn every day, especially from the experiences of others. It is much cheaper. Jitu bhai will align with me, or even Kirti will align with me to when I say कि that last line catches us very quickly. मैं मारवाड़ी हूँ, तो सस्ते में कुछ मिले तो ज़्यादा लेते हैं, फ्री में मिले तो दो लेते हैं, right? All right. So with that, on that note, let's just open our minds. The idea is to try and learn from each other, like I said, and we'll go through that accordingly. We've talked about this enough. I think the whole intent is, why did we select a topic like saying that if budgets made money, then all of us would be profitable? I'm sure this would have intrigued a lot of people, and some thought from anybody why you think we picked up this as a subject of conversation. No? Okay, let me put out my thought on that. My thought here is that more often than not, we plan for everything that will be the best, and then more often than not, we actually fail to reach that plan. So if it was making money was as simple as making a budget on Excel sheet, every single time you would have met your budget and been very, very profitable. And that was the intent of picking that subject, right? A quick disclaimer, being a professional, I like to make my disclaimers. Of course, a lot of these are opinions and thoughts that I'm putting across, which I've gained from experience. I've been in the field, working across various different industry domains, like the introduction talked about. And this is a lot of accumulation of experience. Some of it is reading, some of it is reading from multiple different forums, learning from different forums, and therefore whatever I use, if they are common ideas, I attribute them to the respective renowned speakers or the writers. I like that last statement. You may not present, reproduce, and you saw that bold thing there, marry. The reason I use that word is that while frankly you can use all of this material wherever you want, please don't get married with concepts, because with time things change and we should not get stuck with what is old. That was the intent of that disclaimer. Yeah? Alright. I am believing this is what we want to achieve. A common understanding on all the budget process and the related issues. That's fundamentally what we'll do. But I always like to put it that way, that other than the pitfalls, let's also make sure that we learn from each other. So there are multiple experts here who've got a lot of industry knowledge, who have been applying a lot of the concepts in some form or format. It'll be great that if we bring that to the learning forum here today. Right? Okay. This is a game. Kaun Banega Crorepati? I'm sure all of us watch this. Yeah? We do? Alright, so these are going to be questions, and we need quick answers because we are already back on time. So quick answers. How many of you make budgets? Can you show of hands? Alright, almost everybody does. Super. Okay. How many of us think it is a good practice? Alright. I saw some of the hands go down, but yeah, I'll still go by saying that most people believe it's a good practice. Okay. Why do you make a budget? You think it is important? Alright, but that doesn't tell me why. Why do you make a budget at all?
So that fund can be properly planned.
Okay, fund planning, super. I need one help. Can we just put those points down on that board there? One of my team members here can come and help me do that. So I have a couple of my team members here. That's Dhruv. And we have Madhura. Can you just stand up? That's Madhura. That's Pranav. And then I have my partner here, Anuj. Yeah. Sorry. Next. Roadmap. Let's put that down as well. Roadmap for operation. All right. Okay. Targets. Super. I was expecting that to be the first. Targets. Benchmarking, that's a lovely one too. Avoid urgencies, okay, that's good planning. So that's about creating a plan, that's actually planning, all right. Absolutely, alignment of goals and objectives. Okay, I think we have enough, right? So then we don't need to prove that it is important. To yes, to basically make sure that your bottom line is protected. All right, so that's put that as risk management, as I would call it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Who is responsible for budgeting in your organization? Finance team? CEO? All right. I heard finance as a louder word, but yes, CEO, finance, the process owner. So generally it boils down to the CEO then, right? All right. Okay. When and how often do you make a budget? Annual, most often it's an annual plan. Yeah, that's what we do. And monthly reviewed. Cool. Okay. How many of you believe you have an excellent budgeting process? All right. There's one hand that went up. Super. Okay. Then I think, sir, I can ask you to come here. Okay. All right. So that's the problem, right? That's basically defining the problem, that we all agree that there is importance to this. We all agree that there is a lot of reason behind this. But when it comes to the process itself, we do not give it enough importance. And probably that's because it remains as an academic exercise than anything else. And that's exactly what we want to discover today. Yeah? I think we talked about what is the importance, so I'm going to skip this. I mean, planning, control, coordination, prioritization, forecasting. I think we talked about almost all of these. Performance evaluation is benchmarking in a different sense, so I'll kind of move forward in the interest of time. Coming to the crux of our subject, if budgets made money, everyone would be profitable. Why does it become most important today in the current scenario? I think maybe ask me about a decade back, budgets was something that only MNCs did, not even the Indian companies. Maybe decade, maybe 15 years, it was mostly something that only MNCs did. And it caught fancy for people, and a lot of management gurus and experts started talking about saying, budget banana chahiye. And so what started to happen? Excel sheets started to get created. You had templates that started to get rolled out. There were industry specific templates, and that's where it stopped. Is that the only reason? In my opinion, considering the industry that we are in, I'm talking from the context of the GDC Tech Forum, you have a huge dependency on OEMs and tier ones, and those volumes change generally, at least at a quarter to quarter level, if not faster. Yeah, that's typically where you are. Huge fluctuation in your input costs, and I don't need to talk about silver in any case. I'm sure all of us have the silver shock there. So I stick to referring to aluminum because that's where the foundry business predominantly is. But the same implications are there as would be there for a gold or a silver to aluminum as well, right? So you have that problem, and you have spreads that kind of go crazy overnight. Margin pressure. Most of your contracts with your OEMs will talk about passing on reductions, passing on fluctuations on a quarter to quarter basis. You would have the collar clauses. That's pretty common in the industry. And then in spite of that, you want to find ways to make money. And then you'll have furnace oils dripping, electricity fluctuation happening, diesel running for long, the genset running for longer time. In spite of all of us paying taxes and doing everything, we don't get enough power from the MIDC. All of these are standard problems that we have, right? Okay. What does that lead to? All of this together basically puts stress on our margins, on our working capital, because our fixed costs tend to go higher. Is that a fair statement to make? As if this is not enough, we talked about the alignment as an issue, you referred to it. The challenges of alignment don't go away. The finance team will have a very different perspective, typically, at least with the HR and the marketing, if not any other department. Am I fair to say that? We have an HR professional here. एक होता है? तो क्यों? Okay. This is better? Am I audible enough? Okay. All right. So, and finally, we've now become, India is more global. The borders are more porous. Whatever Trump does impacts us. Whatever Putin does impacts us. Whatever they don't do also impacts us. Is that fair? So, with that situation, If competition earlier was a smaller place, we have now become more competitive. I believe this is the reason why we need something that tells us what our plan is, got to be more clearer, right? So my contention therefore is, it is not budgets that fail, it is the execution that fails. Are you with me? Yeah, we agree? So what typically happens in most of our organizations? One annual Excel, most often prepared by finance. All departments are given a template by the finance department. They fill up the template. The finance department aggregates all of that. You compile that. Then you say, I don't like the number. You put a number which says stretch. That's what your budget is. Fair? Is that how most of the time budgets are happening? If I'm wrong, please correct me. I stand here to be corrected. Like I said, this is a process where we give and take. It's not a one-way street for us. All right? Second problem. And again, I don't know whether if there is anybody who is a salesperson here today, but most of you as CEOs and the heads of the organization are definitely more sales than anything else. We assume volumes. Who owns those volumes? Our simplest reason always is, बजाज ने बोला था 1 लाख करने वाले हैं, अभी शेड्यूल 70,000 का है, मैं क्या करूं? Isn't that a very standard excuse that we give ourselves? Let's forget the sales team. Isn't that an excuse that we give ourselves? Right? This is another big problem that we do with budgeting. मागच्या 12 महिन्याचा average किती होता? Multiplied by 12. That's my number for this year. Don't we do that? There are some finance people here, and that's exactly what we do, and that is exactly what makes it only an Excel exercise. Averages is one of the biggest pitfalls in the management process. Averages, there cannot be anything more mediocre than an average. And I mean this statement. Upon generally, even when we talk about candidates, then they are being interviewed. There are very senior people here. So average hota. That does not mean that. So, and if we are using that same philosophy in our budgeting process, what are we doing with our budgeting? We are making a mediocre budget, right? So averages are a problem. What do? We'll probably talk about it a little bit more. Lastly, there is no linkage with decisions and cross-functional impacts. HR को हम budget का target देते हैं कि attrition should be less than 10%. But when you come to your recruitment budget, do you plan for the 10% attrition? You don't. Or other way around. Vice versa. गेल्या वर्षी recruitment वर oh इतना पैसा खर्चा हो गया, इतने लोग लेते हैं. But actual attrition number, if you believe in your number, shouldn't that be the number that you should plan for? That's a classical case of cross-functional impact that we ignore. And I can talk about this for every single department. Production department को आप देते हो cycle time कम करने का है. Cycle time कम करने के बाद में मेरा क्या क्या कम होना चाहिए cost, उसका हम बजट में रिफ्लेक्ट ही नहीं करते. और दी अदर वे राउंड, साइकिल टाइम कम करने का एक्शन प्लान नहीं बनता है, टारगेट दिया जाता है और हम नंबर चेंज कर देते हैं. 10% cycle time improvement होने वाला है, so all my variable costs will go down by 10%. That's how we go ahead and do the budget, and then every month we are kicking the production guy, the maintenance guy, and yourselves. That's what's happening, right? And this, my friends, is something that I wanted specifically for you guys. The bigger problem why budgets fail is because the leadership team avoids them. When I say avoids, it does not mean that you avoid making a budget. You avoid what the budget is telling you. You fundamentally are avoiding what the budget is telling you. एक बार बना दिया, उसके बाद में हम लोग क्या करते हैं? हर महीना उसको डिफेंड करते हैं. ये मेरे assumptions हैं, ये assumptions मेरे बराबर थे, at that time it was correct, now things have changed. Subhash, you can tell me, right? Order ही नहीं आया, XYZ customer का, which was my biggest customer. We face these problems every day. Isn't that true? We end up defending. We do not go down the track of analyzing and looking at a corrective action plan on it. ignored every single day. How many of you, when you go to your factory or when you are doing your daily stand-up, doing your weekly review, do you talk to your shift supervisor even about a budget? कि तेरा ये shift का target ये था जब हमने budget किया था. We don't. And that's the reason that budget remains only on an Excel sheet or on a piece of paper, because it does not become the way you manage your business. If you do not make it a way to manage your business, it will not be successful. It will remain something that in the boardroom was a wonderful plan, but ultimately, please let's understand that budgets don't get achieved by the people sitting in the boardroom. Budgets get achieved by the people who are in the field, who are on the shop floor, who the guy who's standing at your furnace is the guy who determines what the yield is going to be, what your melting loss is going to be. Temperature हल्ला की melting loss वाढला. फाउंड्री में वैसा ही होता है ना जीतू भाई, करेक्ट है ना? या डाई कास्टिंग में 450 टन की जगह पे 600 टन के मशीन पे तुमने पार्ट लगा दिया, लग गई सर आपकी मार्जिन की. सॉरी, आई एम यूजिंग सम sort of slang language, but isn't that reality for all of us? Unless that gets clarified to people, unless it gets percolated to people in your teams, they will not value your budget, and you will not understand what is the real reason why the failure is happening. Variances get explained, and this, I can tell you, we see this in 90% of the cases where we work or where we advise, where every month, very nice, excellent dashboards, excellent analysis of the numbers, variances are explained very well. Only in 10% of the cases I see a conversation happening where they talk about how will we control this variance in the next month. What steps do I need to take to bring me back on track to my budget? Sir, those conversations, sirs and madams, those conversations are mandatory to make them work, and that is the leadership responsibility, and that is what I am saying you are avoiding. Action planning is the critical element of all of it, and this one is again a very favorite of mine. Everyone knows the number. So if I were to ask you your budget, profitability, I would believe at least 80-85% of you will be able to tell me saying that आमचा हा budget होता 25-26 चा, ह्या percentage होता, एवढा sale होता. If I go down to asking you saying that who was the single person responsible for those numbers, and this is not just the top number, because a budget is a build-up. It's a build-up of multiple different numbers which come from different departments. If we were to ask who is that person who is responsible for those numbers, who owns those numbers, then we fumble. The responsibility typically tends to stop at giving the input. Again, sorry sirs and madams, that's not where the responsibility stops. The responsibility is in achieving those numbers. It is not at providing that information. Right? You agree with me? Am I saying something that's not making sense? Please feel free to stop me anywhere. In general, I keep saying that माझी memory वाईट नाही आहे, त्यामुळे तुम्ही मला मध्ये जरी थांबवलं तरी मला लक्षात राहील की मी कुठे थांबलो होतो. In any case, I can still count on the people in the room to say they'll bring me back on track to say, sir, हे बोलत होतात. Right? Okay? Therefore, my request and submission to all of you is that a budget is not a financial document. If you make it just a financial document which talks about P&L, cash flow and balance sheet, we listed a couple of those things out there, it will not work. For a leadership, it has to become an operating document. And again, there is another jargon that has gone ahead with budgeting, which talks about annual operating plan. And again, I'll tell you that in a lot of cases that we see, what they do is they take the budget, Excel sheet से snapshots काढतात, PPT वर paste करतात आणि त्याला annual operating plan म्हणतात. Again, that's another big pitfall. That doesn't help. Operating plan needs to talk about operations, needs to talk about actions, needs to talk about who will do in what time frame, what is the expected outcome, and at what cost benefit. What risk reward. That's what planning is all about. Yeah? Okay, a little change. This is Dun and Bradstreet. A lot of these quotes are not mine. मी एवढा मोठा गुरु नाही आहे की मी काय स्टेटमेंट स्वतः बनवतो काय काय. Some of these things that I'm talking to you about budget are my experiences, like I said. But this is what Dun and Bradstreet had in their most ventures failed because of poor financial management. I added a small element to this, and poor discipline. You make a budget, you don't look at it again, you look at it directly after 6 months or at the time of next budgeting cycle saying last year ye hua tha, abhi kya hua? That's not discipline. I'm sorry, that's not management discipline. Agree with me? So we'll share these slides with you. There's nothing confidential on these slides. So be rest assured. So what do we do? I talked about all the problems. I'm sure you're not here to just listen to the problems that I'm listing out for you or telling you that these are the pitfalls that are there. Yeah? Alright. So what do I recommend we do? Let's move from numbers to the operating drivers. So what should we budget for? Let's start to budget on the driver level rather than the number level. सेल 10% वाढेल त्याच्याऐवजी या प्रॉडक्टचा एंड युटिलायझेशन जर बजाज चेतकमध्ये आहे, आय एम जस्ट युझिंग रँडम नेम्स, मग चेतकचा बजाजचा व्हॉल्यूम काय फोरकास्ट आहे, त्याच्यात आपला मागचा अनुभव काय, किती त्यांचा प्रॉबिलिटी येते, त्यात माझा मार्केट शेअर किती आहे, त्या मार्केट शेअर वाढवण्यासाठी किंवा प्रोटेक्ट करण्यासाठी मी काय ॲक्शन्स घेणार आहे, त्याच्या बेसिसवर जर आपण बजेट बनवला तर विल दॅट बी मोर रिअलिस्टिक? Yeah, is that making sense now? Rather than just saying that Bajaj has a volume of 4 lakh vehicles that they are going to make for the Chetak EV, and then in that Chetak EV I have one rod that goes and I have 50% share today, and you just do that multiplier and then put that in there, and then my average price last year for aluminium was so and so, or my alloy cost is XYZ so and so per metric ton, and based on that this is where I will get to. Sir, it's a design for failure. Your business is a business where if you, a bad design is your biggest cost element. Isn't that right? That's the industry that you are in. Cost gets determined at design stage. It is the same for your budgets also, sir. It is absolutely the same. Please design it well, it will give you better outcomes. So move away from averages. I think I talked about it a little while back, so I won't belabor that further. Determining the drivers, timing effects, and the triggers behind these numbers. And I gave you that example of Bajaj Chetak for that reason, right? And how do we talk about the drivers, the timing effects? They don't do divided by 12 as volume, do they? None of your OEMs do that. कुठलंच नाही. पण आपण बजेट करताना काय करतो, माझी वर्षाची कॉस्ट 12 लाख रुपये होणार आहे, टाक रे दर महिन्याला 1 लाख रुपये. क्लासिक एक्झाम्पल घेतो, इन्शुरन्स कसे बजेट करतो आपण? इन्शुरन्सची कॉस्ट डिवायडेड बाय 12, AMCs डिवायडेड बाय 12. सर तुमचं बजेट नाही अचीव होणार. का नाही अचीव होणार? कारण तुम्ही 6 महिने 8 महिने जेव्हा केव्हा तुमचं ते रिन्युअल येतं आहे तोवर तुम्ही त्याला सेविंग दाखवणार. त्या महिन्यात एकदम आल्यानंतर तुम्ही त्याचं एक्सप्लेनेशन देणार की नाही सर ये तो महीने में रिन्युअल था ना इसलिए ज़्यादा कॉस्ट हो गया, आणि मग परत पुढच्या महिन्यांमध्ये सेविंग दाखवणार. मागचे विसरून गेलो, त्या एका महिन्यात एक्सप्लेनेशन देऊन आपण शांत झालो. त्याचा प्रॉब्लेम काय क्रिएट झाला? कॅश फ्लो हल्ला. बजेटेड कॅश फ्लो वर्सेस रियल कॅश फ्लो विल नेवर मॅच. Such many such small numbers add to a big number which goes and gets stuck as working capital somewhere. That working capital comes to us at, depending upon our ratings, anywhere from 8.5% to 12.5% in terms of interest rate from banks. Your financing cost has gone for a toss. Once your financing cost has gone for a toss, your ROC is gone for a toss. The bank is going to take what it is going to take. Who's the loser there? Sir, you are the investor in your own company. You are the loser there. Because your capital is the one that goes up, not the bank's capital that goes up. Agree with me? So what do I recommend we do? Sorry? Sir, what happens is, what typically people do is, unless they are taking provisions, and most organizations, I am telling you, most organizations do not take the provision. They take the cost only when it comes on a cash basis. Accrual is a system that is applied only on 31st of March. It is a pitfall. It is a pitfall. But then it is an administrative effort every time to identify all of such costs that have happened in the month. Exactly. And then again that provision also changes because you did a budget on certain parameters, assuming last year's premium rates change. If let's say it's a fire policy, if your asset size has gone up, have you taken that into account? If your working capital, your inventory has gone up, have you taken that into account? You have a plan to set up a new plant. Trust me, these are the drivers. That is what I'm saying. Unless you identify the drivers and then it's impacting costs, you will not make the right budget. That's what I'm sort of submitting to all of you. And less effort is spent on identifying the drivers, more effort is spent on making sure that all the items are listed on the P&L side and then making an extrapolation on Excel sheet. And which is the reason we said preparing budgets and implementing budgets beyond Excel sheets and paper. Sir, throw the Excel sheet. I'm telling you. You can run the plant wonderfully with budgets even without Excel sheets. If everybody knows what his or her target is. For the hour, for the shift, for the week, for the month, for the quarter, for the year. They all will align. You cannot have you will generally have step improvements. If you have a target of saying that I will reduce my cycle time from, let's say, 1 minute to 55 seconds, it doesn't happen on day one. You take multiple actions. From 1 minute, it will first come down to 58 or 57 because that first step is probably the easier one. The next 1 second takes one more time, longer time. The next 1 second takes even more time. But what do? हा माझा टार्गेट आहे, मल्टिप्लाय केले तेवढी कपॅसिटी अवेलेबल झाली, होत नाही ना ती. बरं ते आपण प्लॅन करतो, कपॅसिटी येऊन पण जाते, पण त्याच्यासाठी जर ट्रायल घ्यायला लागणार आहे त्याचा टाइमच प्लॅन नाही करत. सर, ऑल ऑफ दीज particularly in your industry, a trial takes more energy than your run. And how many of us in our budgeting say we are going to have so many trials? Few. That's the reason I generally have said that 90% of the people don't follow this process. And then we try and explain, and that's the reason I said then we'll give an explanation and everybody is happy. अच्छा, ये महीने में ट्रायल था क्या? ओके, वेरी गुड. ट्रायल था, तुमको मालूम नहीं था क्या? बिजनेस ग्रो नहीं करने वाले थे क्या? प्रोडक्ट में इंप्रूवमेंट नहीं करने वाले थे क्या? कॉस्ट रिडक्शन इनिशिएटिव नहीं लेने वाले थे क्या? इफ दीज आर थिंग्स दैट सडनली पॉप्ड अप, देन आई वुड से आई एम विथ यू. बट दे डोंट पॉप अप सडनली. दे आर ऑलवेज देयर. वी आर अ रनिंग entity. We are a running business. We are not a startup. Right? So what I recommend generally is that you should make something known as an EBITDA driver tree. And if you don't mind using the sheets in front of you, that's the first sort of exercise, if you will, that I've given to you. To say, can we identify for your own businesses what that tree can be? I have made an example here which starts at the OEM volume, or let's say the OEM schedules, translating into volume for you, that translating into what is your capacity utilization. But then that's not where your cost stops. Just knowing the capacity utilization doesn't determine what your cost is going to be. Your cost further gets determined by what is your yield percentage. Yield will have to be calculated based on what is your sellable output. Correct? Correct me if I'm wrong, and I think this, given the forum that this is what you face every day. Your input versus sellable output is a very different ratio versus your typical input versus output. You tend to reconcile with your scrap as a totality, tonnage मध्ये match झालं. But what you get as profits is not the matching of the tonnage. What you get as profits is out of what is your sellable tonnage. Am I correct? Yeah? And most often this gets ignored. And sellable tonnage determines your contribution margin. Contribution margin, again, I mean, I could drill this down further to say, but then contribution margin is an impact of what is your alloy. Alloy mein, what are the metals? Where are they coming from? What are your contracts with your, let's say, suppliers, vendors? If there is a duty change, if there is exchange rate change, असे करत करत आपण जेव्हा ड्रायव्हरच्या खालच्या लेवलपर्यंत पोहोचतो तेव्हा आपण अझम्पशन्सला पोहोचतो. वेन यू रीच द राईट अझम्पशन्स, That's when you can make a better budget. Then in the budget, if we are saying that the dollar is going to, or rather let's say the rupee is going to depreciate further from my budgeted number was 85, the rupee is going to depreciate to 90, that's a view that we expect or accept. One, in the budget, I need to plan for it. Based on that, if I do not like the margin numbers, do I have an action plan to go back, which is an action for the sales team to say, please go back and renegotiate the contract with the customer? Maybe that can happen, maybe that cannot happen. Second action plan for the procurement department. Do we have an action plan for procurement department saying that please find me one more source? Right now I'm getting probably from Australia. Can I get something from Iran? Is that possible? Or can I go to Africa? Is that possible? Where do we talk about these action plans? Third, forex fluctuation is a problem. Where is my finance department told that you need to do something that will protect me from the forex fluctuation? We are, सर अपने देश में ना सब भगवान का दिया हुआ है, पर हम सब चीज है ना जब नहीं अचीव होता है तो हम देवाचीच इच्छा नव्हती. पोरं पण गॉड गिवन गिफ्ट, नाही काय झालं तरी गॉड गिवन गिफ्ट. ट्रू? Yeah, that's how we think. We need to change that. You agree with me? Then of course you have the volume and the mix. You will make a budget which will say that I am going to sell 30 metric tons this month. 30 metric tons of which product is going to determine how much of the raw material you will need, how much power you will need, what labor you will need. Those are your controllables. But the mix will get determined by what your customer is going to give you. Do we have a play in the mix? Yes, we do. It depends on what customer, what product, what I want to sell, what I am willing to sell to the customer. Can I go and say no to a customer at times? Some of you do it. I know some of you do it. You go and tell the customer saying, no, I will not do it at this rate. Or this I will not do. But most tend to get carried away with a situation saying that, अरे machine रिकामा पडलाय काहीतरी तर लावून टाक. Don't we do that? And that's after that, when you do that, you're still stuck with saying, मेंटेनेंस कॉस्ट तो उतना ही लगने वाला है, मैं वॉल्यूम करूं कि नहीं करूं. एमसी तर आहेच ना. तुमचा वॉल्टर वाला येऊन तुम्हाला असं म्हणत नाही ना, यार तुम्हारा 3 महीना तो मशीन वैसा ही खड़ा था, 75% ही दे दो, 25% डिस्काउंट देता हूं. नहीं बोलता है ना वॉल्टर सीएनसी वाला ऐसा. नो मशीन मैन्युफैक्चरर डज दिस. No machine manufacturer does that. So you could actually fill that up, the driver metrics, and I'm sort of recommending that this is something that you should put across with the metrics. And if you notice, categorically I have said that there has to be a review, and please define the review frequency and the owner. And mind you, the owner here, while I have said it is a department, ideally, and you'll see that in one of my next slides, please name the person where you can. If it is Jitendra Lakhotia's job to look at it, it is Jitendra Lakhotia's job. Say CEO, put the designation. But just saying management, production, that never solves the problem. You will never get an owner for it. Yeah, and isn't that a problem that you face? There is a buck passing that tends to happen. Yeah, most often this happens.
10 लोकांचे pool मध्ये नाव टाकून द्यायचं, विशेष कोणीच होणार.
कोणीच नाही. आपल्याकडे वेळ कमी नाही तर I have a wonderful story on that one, and I love stories. So probably if we find time, I'll come back to that story. Okay, so you have a template that we have given to you. Please make use of the template, but please make sure that you're putting the source of information also there. Why do I say that? मला वाटतं म्हणून नको. ही माहिती मला दर महिन्याला जेव्हा मला कंपेअर करायची आहे तेव्हा कुठून मिळणार आहे हे प्लीज डिफाईन करा. विल इट कम आउट ऑफ माय ERP? विल इट कम आउट ऑफ माय CRM? विल इट बी समथिंग that somebody is going to track on an Excel sheet or on a register? Nothing wrong in any of the methods. Please understand. I only want you to say that this is where I will get it. That will determine how true and how correct it will be. Yeah, agree? Agree with me? Alright, so continuing with that thought on numbers to operating drivers. Volume build-up, product mix. I think I talked about all of this, so I'll not put too much time on it. I mean, capacity feasibility check. This is wonderful. Capacity feasibility check. And I again, something that's relevant for your industry. I talked about it, right? Do you run a machine at 40% efficiency, or do you run a smaller machine at overtime? हा डिसिजन आपण बजेट बघून घेतो का? नाही घेत. हा आपण डिसिजन बजेट बघून घेत नाही, कारण त्या मशीनची रन कॉस्ट आपण डिटर्मिन बऱ्याच वेळेला केलेलीच नसते. इन्क्रिमेंटल कॉस्ट ही फिलॉसॉफीच आपण बघत नाही. Which is where therefore I have said that there is another table which is basically the driver linked, which is bringing it down to that cost level. See, ultimately you want to move everything in the domain of, in a rupee term. Let it be tons, let it be whatever, but it needs to come down to a common denominator, which is the rupee. आपल्याला सगळ्यांना शेवटी पैसेच कळतात, म्हणून तो कॉमन डिनॉमिनेटर आपल्याला आणायला हवा. मग ह्याच्यातले काही गोष्टी मी ऑटो लिहिले म्हणजे ते ऑटो गिअर नव्हे. ऑटो म्हणजे वेन व्हॉल्यूम्स फ्लक्च्युएट दॅट विल ऑटोमॅटिकली गो अप अँड डाऊन. What is semi is some of it is fluctuating, some of it is not. Fixed आणि variable cost ही concept generally सगळ्यांना निश्चित माहिती असते, त्यामुळे I will not waste time on that. That is basically what I am talking about in this slide also. But I have a question now again. If volume increases by 10% in a machining unit, how much will the cost go up? Some costs are variable. Only variable cost should go up. Right? Is that right? My answer is we don't know the answer. Cost will probably not increase by 10%. It may increase if you have available capacity, the increase will be less than 10%. But if you do not have available capacity, mind you, sirs and madams, the increase will be more than 10%. Whether you outsource, whether you put a new machine, whatever you do, the moment you have a new machine, your fixed cost has gone up, your cost will increase by more than 10%. So there is no right or wrong answer unless you have the actual data. That is the reason I said no, this is not what it is. Why? We talked about it already. Because there is something known as a capacity cost, and determining the capacity cost is a critical element of the budgeting process for your business, for your industry. It is more so than for your industry than any other, I would say. Because for you to change capacities is not an overnight job. For an IT business, worst case, it is a 2-month recruitment time frame. I do a lot of work with IT businesses, lots of it. ऑर्डर आल्यानंतर सुद्धा 2 महिने कस्टमरला कसेही चेपतात ते. तुम्ही 2 महीन्यात वाढू शकता का कैपेसिटी? सर, नया फर्नेस लगाने के लिए आपको कितना टाइम लगा? आपका कोल्हापुर प्लांट 18 महीना 18 महीना लगा, 15 से 18 महीना लगा. तब तक बजाज बोलेगा मैं रुकता हूँ जी, तू ला ना. तू बोलेगा? नहीं बोलेगा. आपको एक व्यू लेना पड़ेगा. बट द मोमेंट यू डिड दैट, व्हाट डिड यू डू टू योर कॉस्ट बेस? योर कॉस्ट बेस हैज परमानेंटली गॉन अप. Every cost therefore has a trigger. You will now agree with me on that statement. And therefore what I say further is, volume linked costs are definitely automatic. Your raw material is a classic example for that. However, please do not ignore capacity costs, and these are leadership calls. Capacity वाढवायची का आउटसोर्स करायचा, हा कॉल लीडरशिपचा, प्रोक्युरमेंट हेड, CEO, बट दॅट्स लीडरशिप टीम टू मी. हा तुमचा शिफ्ट इन्चार्ज नाही घेत तो डिसिजन. तुमचा वेंडर एक्झिक्युटिव्ह घेत नाही तो डिसिजन. कोणीतरी त्याला सांगितलं की तो ते काम करेल. राईट? My next bone of contention or my next statement to you is that whatever you do, your annual budgets will never be met. मग हे करायचंच नाही का? Then why am I standing here? What I mean to say is that when these things are these are realities of your business, and then we have Mr. Trump. I have coined him as Global Pappu. Some of you may like that name, some of you may not. But I like to call him. We used to have one Pappu here, so I said there is a Global Pappu, and that's Mr. Trump to me. हे तुम्ही यूट्यूबवर टाकणार आहात ना? टॅरिफ वाढणार सर. टॅरिफ वाढणार बघा म्हणजे आता तुम्ही. ओके. Every morning he'll get up and say, this is what I want to do. So what do? my recommendation to you is that please go away from a fixated annual budget, move into a rolling process. That is better for your business. Where there are fixed contracts, project kind of businesses, IT kind of, or arbitrage, labor arbitrage businesses, annualized budgeting is far more effective. But a rolling budget is a better one for your kind of an industry. That does not mean that you change targets every day. So don't get me wrong. But getting a view of the forward will give you ability to take decisions faster, because your lead time on implementing decisions is much, much longer. Agree with me? Yeah? And if I'm saying anything that does not make sense to your business or your industry, please stop me. Okay? The other thing I recommend very strongly is lock 3 months. This is a new concept, right? Lock 3, review 3, guide for 6. Next 3 months, lock it. All your targets should get locked. Generally, even your OEM gives you that sense. 3 महिन्याचं तुम्हाला generally देतात. Third month, they'll generally say 90% confidence, but that generally doesn't change. तेवढी risk तुम्ही तशी घेऊ शकता. That is a risk that you can carry. But lock 3. हे आपल्या बिझनेसमध्ये आहे. Seasonality. This is what? Correct? Exactly. Lock yourself for 3 months for all your targets. Lock yourself that way. Review the next 3 in terms of what you are anticipating. Now this review can be a two-way review. What happened in the last 3 months, based on which what should I change in my lock 3, and what I'm expecting after this lock 3, because this is locked, I will have some spillover into the next 3. Agreed with me? So that covers us for 6. Next 6 months, make an estimate. Create a guide for yourself. By and large, प्रोग्राम्स असतात, तुम्हाला माहिती असतं नवीन प्रोडक्ट इंट्रोडक्शनचं काय चालू आहे, कसं चालू आहे. Those conversations your sales team, your marketing team, your customer relationship team are supposed to know, and that is supposed to get fed into this process. वर्षातनं एकदाच फक्त तो इनपुट दिला आणि मग नंतर 12 महिने तो इनपुटच नाही दिला, so you will never launch any of your products in time. Your competitor will pick it and go away. Correct? Agree with me? So I think this is one of the things that we have put on the template also for you. No, it's just a decision matrix. Yeah, all right. So here's something else that I want to talk about. This is review. I talked about it, right? What should be in your review? Keep it very specific and simple. I twisted that KISS principle a little bit. KISS म्हटलं की सगळ्यांना थोडा जरा there is more excitement around it, म्हणून मी KISS शब्द वापरला तिथे. पण it's basically keep it very specific and simple. Don't try and complicate things. Business complicated असतो, पण आपण त्याला simple आणि specific ठेवलं तर it is easier, it is more actionable. Yeah? Fair? Is that fair? Okay. Second, make it very explicit from the root cause to the action to the owner linkage, and that's what you'll see on the table below. That's the demonstration of what so again, what I'm putting in front of you is very simplistic. Obviously, it will be a little bit more complex, slightly more detailed design as your worksheets or your review sheets, but fundamentally this is what it is. And lastly, I'm saying whatever you do as your review template and your analysis, please make sure that it is the same template that is being applied for the relevant department. So whether it is production, finance, or for that matter, even for that matter, the sales, please have the same template. Sales वाला वेगळ्या पद्धतीने बघतो, production वाला वेगळ्या पद्धतीने बघतो, आणि finance वाला वेगळं भलतंच काहीतरी सांगतो. I'm telling you, there are certain organizations where I'm on the board of a couple of companies, and we do their quarterly review, and the salesperson comes and puts a picture, and when the finance person comes and puts the picture, the numbers are not the same. The numbers are different. There has to be common understanding. The numbers are, and I'm not saying they're both correct. Trust me, they're both correct. But one is showing gross, the other is showing net. The one is showing with GST, the other is showing without GST. One is saying मेरा returns नहीं पकड़ा, इसमें मैंने samples नहीं पकड़ा. ऐसा सब अलग-अलग. You will again, like I said, there'll be 100 reasons and excuses. It doesn't help. It doesn't help. Agreed? The other thing for the template, I have purposefully created those colors there in the gap. A lot of you use quality systems and quality templates. Like you said, right, that I am a qualified assessor and also an what ISO certified assessor, you have to use colors to give you visibility of where you want to focus. या महिन्यात जे लाल आहे त्याच्यावर फोकस करा, ग्रीन आहे ते ग्रीन आहेच. सो आय एम नॉट सेइंग डिसरिगार्ड युअर सक्सेस, आय एम ओनली सेइंग बी क्लिअर अबाउट, फाइंड आउट what worked well for us, find out what worked well for us and what did not, right? So review based on analysis and actions have an owner. आपण काय करू, पुढच्या महिन्यात आपण एक शिफ्ट बंद करून टाकू, मीटिंगमध्ये डिसिजन होते, आठवड्याभरानंतर कोणीच त्याच्यावर काहीही केलेलं नसतं. अरे ते पॉवर फॅक्टर चेक करायला पाहिजे सर, या महिन्यात कमी आला पॉवर फॅक्टर, चेक करतो. मीटिंगमधून बाहेर गेल्यानंतर कोणीही बघत नाही. पुढच्या महिन्यात जेव्हा परत बिल येतं, पॉवर फॅक्टर काय परत नाही आला, अरे ते सर ते पॉवर फॅक्टर तसाच राहिला येतो. दॅट हॅज टू बी अन ओनरशिप. It has to be an ownership of one individual in the organization who will make sure that it will happen, whose responsibility it is to get done, right? All right, a little change. So in budgeting, ask yourself this question: what went wrong last year? Use that as a basis. Don't just make it an extrapolation. Where did we waste money? Can we sort of save money somewhere, right? Generic. So I won't waste time here, but please measure everything. And measuring everything is not always only P&L, not always only profitability, not only capital ratios, not only debt coverage ratios, not only inventory turnover ratios. Attrition is equally important. Your yield percentages are equally important. Your melting loss is equally important. Your overtime is equally important. Your product mix is very important. हे पण तुमच्या बजेटमध्ये हे सगळे पॅरामीटर्स सुद्धा डिफाईन व्हायला हवे. आणि हे जेव्हा त्याच्यातनं जेव्हा बजेट बनेल, then that budget is more actionable. Probably I'm getting close to the end of my sort of presentation, and I'm sure I was given time for about an hour, and I'm sure I'm going to complete within that. So if it doesn't drive a decision, kill it. What am I saying? I asked you this question a little while back. How many of your decisions after the budget is made are based on what you took as assumptions in the budget? Please don't make it just a comparison column which has a variance percentage, reason analysis. आणि ते ॲनालिसिस सुद्धा कित्येक वेळेला नुसतं असं मोघम काहीतरी, RM कॉस्ट गॉन अप, RM परसेंटेज क्यों बढ़ गया, RM कॉस्ट गॉन अप. अरे क्या ॲनालिसिस आहे बॉस, बेस्ट आहे. नाही का दिसत असे रिझन्स? दिसतात, बरोबर आहे ना. इंटरेस्ट कॉस्ट गॉन अप, इंटरेस्ट वाढलेला का दिसला, मोर युटिलायझेशन ऑफ CC. ट्रेनिंग नीडेड, एक्झॅक्टली ट्रेनिंग रिक्वायर्ड. आणि त्याच्यात ते कुठेतरी तुमच्या ISOच्या ह्याच्यात लिहिलेलं असतं की 3% पर इयर ॲव्हरेज पाहिजे. चिटका तिथे, बरोबर आहे ना सर. What I'm therefore saying is, please convert that review into a decision. Most often, reviews stop at analysis. Sometimes that analysis is also shit. But even if I'm saying that, okay, some organizations have good analysis, they do not lead to actions and decisions. Unless you do that, it is a waste. And I'm telling you, this is the most expensive waste in your company, because the people who get involved in this process are all the senior most people whose collective time is equivalent to one shift cost. So what you as heads of department, CEOs, owners should be asking, am I running the right machine this week? Right machine म्हणजे काय, मी मगाशी जे म्हटलो की हा पार्ट 400 टनच्या वर निघू शकत असेल तर मी 650 वर का चालवतोय. मग 400 टनमध्ये सर ब्रेकडाऊन झाला, मग तो ब्रेकडाऊन झाला, तो प्लॅन्ड मेंटेनन्स नाही झाला का, मग तो झाला तरी काय झालं, मग आपल्याकडे स्पेअर पार्ट ठेवला नव्हता का. हे जेव्हा तुम्ही याल ना त्या लेवलला, तेव्हा तुम्हाला कळतं की माझा बजेट का फाटला. यू अग्री विथ मी? And I don't know how many of you actually ask these questions. What is destroying my margin? furnace oil is a classic case for you. सर मेटल की तरफ मेरा सब लोग ध्यान देते हैं, पर तुम्हारा 10% कॉस्ट कंज्यूमेबल भी है ना, 10 से ज्यादा होता है, वो भी तो है, उसकी तरफ कोई ध्यान ही नहीं देता है. इलेक्ट्रिसिटी, हाँ, कॉस्ट ऑफ पुअर क्वालिटी, चालू रह गया फर्नेस या बंद कर दिया, दोनों में से एक. चुकून झालं सर, पुढच्या वेळेस नाही होणार. आपल्याकडे ते एक बरं असतं. like it is always said, right? English gave 2 good words, sorry and thank you. त्याचा जितका वापर भारतात होतो तितका मी बाहेर पण कधी नाही पाहिला. दोन्ही शब्दांचा. ओके. Should we accept an incremental? This is a very classic one. The sales guy, to meet his target, will come back and tell you, sir capacity पड़ा है, खाली है, कर लेते, निकल जाएगा. अरे पण त्याच्यासाठी लागणारं रॉ मटेरियल आहे का, माणसं आहेत का, ती कपॅसिटी दिसतीये पण ती ॲक्च्युअली चालवायला त्याच्याबरोबर ॲन्सिलरी मशीन्स आहेत का. फक्त फर्नेस किंवा फक्त डायकास्टिंग मशीनवरनं होत नाही ना, त्याला तुम्हाला बाकी पण लागतात ना, त्याच्या रेलेव्हंट फिक्स्चर्स आहेत का. मग त्याच्यासाठी लागणाऱ्या फिक्स्चरची इन्व्हेस्टमेंट धरली नाही, ती प्राइसिंग काढली, खाली आहे कपॅसिटी भर दिया. More often than not, to meet these kind of demands, you will get into overtime because there was no readiness, and that overtime is the one that kills your margin. Exactly what I was saying. Aren't these very typical scenarios? त्यामुळे सेल वाढला पण तरी सुद्धा माझा प्रॉफिट वाढला नाही किंवा कमीच झाला. दिसतं असं बऱ्याच वेळेला. 12 पैकी 6 महिन्याला हे दिसतं. सेल वाढलेला दिसतो पण तरी प्रॉफिट काय माझा बजेटेड नंबरला येत नाही. Which is the reason I was saying that most plants have a budget, and I saw almost everybody raise their hand when we said, do you have a budget? But how many of you use them for a decision? How many of you use them for making a decision? And if you're not using them for making a decision, sir, don't waste time. Please don't waste time. So the rule I am requesting you to take back from me today is, please test all your decisions against the budget. What will it do to my budget number? What will this decision entail? And what we tend to do, increment हे definitely आपण budgeted number टाकतो. Budgetedच्या आतमध्ये. Sir, your employee cost is what as a percentage, and त्याचा काय percentage आपण घेतोय आणि त्याचा काय impact येणार आहे. पण ते मात्र आपण budgeted बरोबर marry करतो. बाकी कुठलंच नाही marry करत. And I am saying again, that also should be tested with the budget, because if my budgeted number versus my real volume is going to be different, just because I budgeted for a 5, 7, 10 or 15% increment, I should not give it out, because I have to see what will I be able to do to protect my bottom line or my top line. Agreed? So these are probably the questions that you should be asking. Where did I lose money this week? Did I have a mismatch versus my budget in my capacity? I believed that I have 400 metric tons of output that I should have gotten in this month, but because of my yield losses, because of downtime, because of power failure, X, Y, Z reasons, how much did I really lose? So was that a budgeting mistake, or was that some action not taken by somebody who should have taken it? What assumptions changed? That's basically what I was saying. So what do? Right machines for the right orders. I think that's a very important. Most often we ignore this, right? Bad contribution volume is something that you should outright reject. If you are expecting an average, then averages are good, but your averages will again never get met. कुठेतरी cover करू sir. That's something that our sales guy always says. Or your purchasing from the OEM will always say, इस बार तुम दे दो, मैं नेक्स्ट ऑर्डर में तुमको कवर करके देता हूँ. नेक्स्ट ऑर्डर में सेम स्टेटमेंट है, हम भी वही, वो भी वही, स्टेटमेंट भी वही. राइट? दैट हैपेंस? या? सो प्लीज मेक डिसीजंस part of your weekly process which get tied back to your budget. And I'm not saying you need to go back and visit your budget every time. At least have those targets clear to you and drill that down to your bottommost level. Let your shop floor shift manager know this is our target for this week, and that target is equal to the budget. Agreed? So therefore, that's the reason I made that last statement. If the budget vanished, what will change for you? If it is not changing anything, then it's a wasteful thing. Either make it work for you or just quit the activity. Right? Therefore, I am recommending, this is probably the first time I am recommending something for you. Please make a 90-day, in the next 90 days. This is a good time. I would probably change that to 60 days now, because we are on the 31st of January. So you ideally want something in place before 31st of March. Identify 8 to 10 EBITDA drivers. Yeah. Assign individual ownership. And I've said that again and again. Make it an individual ownership. Please do not make it. ये production department का काम है. सर प्रोडक्शन डिपार्टमेंटमध्ये तुमचा एक हेड ऑफ प्रोडक्शन आहे, त्याच्या खाली 3 तुमचे ते शॉप काय ते डिपार्टमेंट हेड्स आहेत, त्या डिपार्टमेंट हेडच्या खाली प्रोडक्शन इन्चार्जेस आहेत, त्याच्या खाली प्रोडक्शन सुपरवायझर, त्याच्या खाली शिफ्ट सुपरवायझर आहे. कोणाला तरी एवढ्या लोकांमध्ये एकाला तर जबाबदारी द्या, सगळ्यांना अशी एकत्र देऊ नका. अग्रीड? Redesign the budget into a driver link format. So please move away from the averages. Please move away from the Excel sheet extrapolations. You budget for the drivers. You will get your budget as an outcome. Then it will also drive the right action plans for you. Because then if my target is that I want to get to 10% profitability and the budget with the driver is not getting to that, what is it, in which driver do I change? What action will help me get there? Then it will be more realistic. Then you will like to work with that budget also. Start the monthly rolling review. It's not easy. I'm not saying any of these things are easy. It takes a lot of time and it is painful. It is like any other change management process that you go through. But it requires tenacity. Is it doable? Yes, it is doable. We have done it. Use the budget for your decision making. And I've just listed the 2 large ones here, pricing and capacity. But trust me, this can be applied to multiple decisions. Right? That is the reason I said budgets don't make money. I'm sure by now you got a sense of what makes money for you. You know, for each of these, don't just make it a financial number, the drivers. Make them non-financial parameters also. Specify the person or the position. I talked about it. Averages are mediocre. Do away from the statics as the annual. Push it down to the shift level in terms of decision making. What makes you money is better decisions. With me? That's therefore finally my submission. Please do review your current process on your budget, including whoever felt you have your best process. Do revisit it. If there is an opportunity to improve that, find out your areas of improvement, implement those metrics. They will help you. The environment is always changing. There will be something else that will come. You have to find new tools and techniques to do things better and faster. In all of that, therefore, what I've said may be very simple, but because it is simple, you will find it possible to take back to your plants, to your people, to your teams and apply them. That's what I would submit to you. Anything else, anything that any of you want to bring, more than happy to discuss that. Is there something that I'm missing altogether? Adit sir, 59 minutes.
Very insightful presentation. While we know that for MSME owners there will be a lot of challenges, but most of the time the challenges are resolved through some kind of a tool or technology. So sir, if you can throw some light as to how your organization, which is AM Square Partners, what kind of tool technology you have which facilitates this process and makes it more easier. So if you can also show some sample,
Sure.
that will be of great help.
So, some of these templates are derived from the Excels that we use. Generally, we strongly feel that Excel is still good enough. So I don't want to undermine the power of Excel. Fundamentally, please start with Excel first if you have not been doing something of that kind. You don't necessarily need an ERP to do a good budget. It's a misnomer. A better tool does not create a better budget. A well done budget with a tool becomes more effective.
Right.
So
Very nice.
it is not one versus the other. It is where you start. So we strongly always recommend starting at Excel
Okay.
for the simple reason that unless you get used to that as a methodology, a tool cannot get configured rightly.
Okay.
Whether it is an ERP system, whether it is a Power BI tool, whether it is anything, including something like an Hyperion that you want to use in terms of how you manage your forecast and how you manage your budgets and targets, or for that matter any of the HR performance management tools. Fundamentally start with something which is basic, but use it. With the use you get insight into what more you need, then move into tools. Power BI is a wonderful tool, very simple, easy to apply. I know you have tools related to that which can be applied, but I continue to feel that, very often there are certain of our clients where I tell them saying that they talk to us about saying we want to move from Tally to ERP, and I tell them saying that don't do it. And I tell them saying that first, what are you expecting the ERP to do? You want that to become some process. Please write down that process, implement that process, and then move to the ERP. Otherwise, what you end up doing is customize the tool for your existing process and तुम्ही दोघांची लावता.
Sir, my question was more surrounding AM Square as a organization. What you have and what process you
I didn't
facilitate?
give too much of brief in terms of what we do. AM Square, fundamentally, we are an advisory organization. We have about 4 or 5 different verticals that we work in. We do shared CFO or virtual CFO services, the whole controlling support. Some of us as partners are on boards of listed and unlisted companies as independent directors also. So we kind of advise more from as sounding boards or a part of boards in terms of helping them strategic plan and perform better. Budgeting is a personal favorite.
Oh,
Budgeting
okay.
and business planning is a personal favorite. I love
see.
this subject myself.
Okay.
So whenever there is any work related to budgeting, I get very excited because
Acha, that is passion.
the amount that you learn about an industry and a business through this process
Correct.
is immense.
Okay.
So so controlling services is a support that we do. We work with a few sort of cross-border entities also,
Okay.
where we provide services in terms of outsourced services, but that's not typically something that we do in India. We have a vertical on startups. We do end-to-end everything on startups, including raising money, investor relationships, all of that there.
Great.
We do very recently, we've sort of carved out an M&A kind of vertical in a small space. We've done I've personally been part of 4 or 5 very large deals,
Okay,
including
great.
Fortune 500 companies.
Oh,
But
wonderful.
in the smaller term, we have kind of done things like hospitals, hotels. Those are the kind of industries that we work with. We also have treasury management and wealth management services. So we've got a plethora of things. Like I said, this is my personal favorite,
Okay.
and that's the reason I get very sort of
Excellent.
emotional about this
Yeah,
subject, if you will.
Nicely explained, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any more questions?
So if there are any finance people here, how many are there? Quite a few? All right. I want to show you one cartoon before I leave this forum. And the CEOs will like it as well. Do you see this problem? There are profits and free cash flows is something that you keep talking about. And much as we talk about profits, cash flows are very critical for business. Right? What you budget for is typically profits or EBITDA. Yeah? Most often you ignore free cash flows. Yeah, you agree with me? Please tie back to reality. And there's one book that I recommend very strongly that you should read, The Art of Thinking Clearly. It's a beautiful book, very small, nice book. It's a wonderful book if you guys haven't read it. And from a budgeting and for your industry perspective, The Goal by Goldratt is another beautiful book. I think that's something that I would strongly recommend you guys should read. There are multiples. But the second one, there was a third also. I will share the details with you. Yeah. Right. Yes. The second one is also equally exciting. आज के लिए इतना ही. Thank you so much for your attention and participation. No, thank you so much for your attention to the matter is a new statement, right?
Also, for your knowledge about our industry, it's really difficult. Generally, the presentation comes in a generic way, but you have gone so depth that you are understanding about yield, furnace oil, and this and that and all, or so it's better. We all, I think, are in love with your conversation and the way you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Big round of
That's
applause.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
With this, I'll request our Vice President Jitendraji Lakhotia for a vote of thanks.
Good evening. Namaskar. Wonderful session as usual. And आनंद भैया हमारा MIG टीन्स त्यांनी हंड्रेड्स ऑफ MOCs क्रिएट केलेले आहे ज्याच्यामध्ये भाग्येश पण एक आहे. सो ही इज MIGचे आमचे एकदम मोठे आधारस्तंभ आहे. Now I will come to formal vote of thanks. The session was indeed very insightful, and we thank you Anand bhai, Anuj ji, Madam hai, and M Square all team members for their good efforts because it was specifically made for our industry and we really loved it. Also, I thank you all the GDC Tech members who actively participated in this session. We thank you MCCI, we thank you Deshpande ji and his team, and I believe everyone must have learned something, and they will at least start with the 60 days plan, what is shown in 90 days, and also they will reshuffle their product mix in their factory. कारण आपण लॉस मेकिंग कॉम्पोनंट आपल्या कंपनीतून बाहेर काढायला हेजिटेट करतो, पण आकारमध्ये मी ते केलं आणि इट रिअली हेल्प टू बेटर अवर बॉटम लाईन. सो थँक्यू वन्स अगेन टू ऑल. गुड नाईट. बाय बाय.
Our next coffee talk will be next month. It's on 4th Saturday of every month. Jitu Bhau already has topic in mind, but he hasn't finalized yet. But just to keep in your calendars, it's 4th Saturday of February. So I think 21st of February or 28th. We'll let you know.
So the topic in my mind, and I spoke to speaker, is KPI setting, because एप्रिल जवळ येतोय. मार्चमध्ये फेब्रुवारी मार्चमध्ये आपलं KPI सेटिंगवर एक झालं पाहिजे चांगला इव्हेंट. आणि मल्टीनॅशनल कंपनीमध्ये काम केलेली व्यक्ती आहे. डायकास्टिंगमध्ये सुद्धा 7-8 वर्ष जॉब केला आहे. सो आय होप इट विल हेल्प अस. सो डेट एक्झॅक्टली सांगतो. राईट.
Thank you. We'll have a group photo now. Please come forward, everybody. सगळ्यांनी पुढे या. आपण एक छान ग्रुप फोटो घेऊ. आणि मग छान मस्त नेहमीप्रमाणे छान यांना बसू ना.